Well, I'm really excited for the interview of the other brother today.
Totally. Let me formally introduce Josh Roosen.
Well, my parents basically forced me to get a job. And so I was at my aunt's house, the one who gave me Rich Dad Poor Dad, and she's in real estate. She's an investor in Michigan and also an agent. And she goes, Josh, why don't you get in real estate? And I'm like, are you going to put me up? My parents are basically going to kick me out if I don't get a job. She was like, no. So I started doing further research and I found a company that's a large real estate education company. And what they encouraged was entrepreneurship. So being an entrepreneur within what they teach. So I thought, I'm going to go there, go get a job. I'm going to learn the systems, tools, and resources to build my business. And then I'm going to leave them. And that's when I made the leap to San Diego, California. And that was really how I got into real estate investing.
Welcome to the Investor Financing Podcast, where we interview real estate investors and lenders so you can learn all the secrets to getting your projects funded and scale your portfolio. And now, your host, Beau Eckstein.
I'm really excited for the interview of the other brother today because we get to see John almost every day. So this is going to be great to kind of dive into the other half and it's going to be interesting to see how they both kind of got that entrepreneurial spark within them, and they're at pretty young ages have gotten some great successes. So very interested to hear the story today.
Totally. Let me formally introduce Josh Roosen. After turning his first home, turning the very first home he purchased into a rental when moving cross country, Josh saw the power of cash flowing assets. To further get his foot in the door, he joined up with one of the nation's largest real estate investing education companies in the United States. I know them quite well, where he became passionate about helping others while furthering his own investing career. And he was very successful at it. We're going to ask him about that. After realizing the power of multifamily, which we talk a lot about, multifamily, as you know, in this channel, he joined Jake and Gino, another very good friends of ours, Jake and Gino team, to grow his portfolio in multifamily while expanding the Jake and Gino community, which is wonderful community, expanding every day, every week, and so on. So currently, Josh owns close to 400 units and going on more. Hey, Josh, welcome, buddy. How are you?
What's up, brothers? Very excited to be here with the both of you today.
Thank you so much. Take us a little bit back, if you would. You grew up in Michigan, is that right?
Correct. Yeah. So I got my first exposure to the entrepreneurial mindset in 8th grade. I was very fortunate to have an aunt who gave me the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, Vinny and Beau. But ultimately, when I read that book in 8th grade, I really wasn't ready for the message in there. And so that really planted a seed. And that was kind of my first exposure to how the wealthy think different than the middle class.
Excellent.
So from there, what happened from there is I go to college, right? I want to be a doctor. I knew that was a good career path. I was very passionate about medicine, helping other people, and going in the med school route, you work for a doctor during undergrad. So I happened to work for an orthopedic surgeon. He was a really great guy, one of my first mentors in life. And one day he comes home from work and he's like, hey, don't be a doctor. You're crazy. I wouldn't let my kids do it. And I'm sitting here like, what? This dude had a bad day. What's going on, right? So we got to dive in here. What happened? Well, we start dissecting the story of why he's telling me not to do this. And he's telling me back in the 90s, he used to make 7 figures a year from being an orthopedic surgeon. And now he's lucky if he makes half that. And so I'm like, okay, this dude's complaining about making $500,000 a year. Like, that's a nice problem to have. And he's like, no, you don't get it. By the time you graduate med school, I predict that physician reimbursements will be between $100,000 and $200,000 a year. And he's like, add that on top of the fact that you're going to be in your early 30s, you're going to be a couple $100,000 in debt, right? Because you have residency, fellowship, med school, and you're going to have to live in a 1-bedroom apartment for a decade just to get out from all that debt. And so at that point, my career goals of being a physician were actually going to crush, right? That picture of being 40 years old and waking up and just being able to kind of break even and climb out of that hole wasn't a reality I wanted. And realizing I had to do something else, I asked that physician, hey, what would you do if you were me? And he goes, look, I make more money from my businesses than I do being a doctor. And so that's really when I decided I wanted to enter the entrepreneurial path.
Excellent. Excellent. Wow. So that was then, so you just shifted. How did you get involved in real estate then? Right?
Yes, that's a good question, right? So at that point, I knew I wanted to do anything entrepreneurial, and I didn't have a lot of capital. I had a biology degree. So I moved home and I started exploring these different business options. And one of them was starting a car detailing company. I was always very passionate about meticulously keeping my belongings, including my cars. And then the other one I looked at was a home healthcare company. And I realized that the silver tsunami was coming. And Vinny, I actually tried a home healthcare company. But the problem was I didn't know the difference versus activity versus accomplishment. Meaning 6 months into attempting to get a business off the ground, I had a website, I had business cards, I had a brochure, LLC, Google Voice number, but I didn't generate any revenue. And so my parents, I was still living at their house. They're like, Josh, it's time to grow up, right? You got to get in the real world. You got to go out there and get a job, essentially applying pressure. So that really shattered that dream of getting into that business. And at that point, I knew I had to do something different. Well, my parents basically forced me to get a job. And so I was at my aunt's house, the one who gave me Rich Dad Poor Dad, and she's in real estate. She's an investor in Michigan and also an agent. And she goes, Josh, why don't you get in real estate? And I'm like, are you going to put me up? My parents are basically going to kick me out. They don't get a job. She was like, no. So I started doing further research, and I found a company that's a large real estate education company. And what they encouraged was entrepreneurship. So being an entrepreneur within what they teach. So I thought, I'm going to go there, go get a job. I'm going to learn the systems, tools, and resources to build my business. And then I'm going to leave them. And that's when I made the leap to San Diego, California. And that was really how I got into real estate investing.
Yes. Wow. And you did very well. So let me get into your mind. I mean, you're a very successful individual, and, and your brother, John, I mean, I have, been working with him for almost 2 years. I love him to death, So what's your mindset? I mean, what are some principles you will share with the audience that has really taken you to such a high, successful careers right now, Yeah.
Yeah, Vinny, that's an awesome question. So a few things that I really realized that really helped me get to where I'm at today is one, success leaves clues. So anything you're looking to do out there, there's someone that's probably done it. And there's really two ways to learn things. One is the school of hard knocks. Look, I could go out there and I could piece it together. I was trying to do it. You're going to make mistakes. You just write them down and then you try not to repeat them. But the other way to do it is a school of applied knowledge. So for example, with that home healthcare company, if I would have had someone who's built that business and coached me step by step on how to do it, I probably would have done the right steps in the right order. And 6 months in, had an income producing business. And so for me, I truly believe time is our most valuable asset. And if I can compress time and get there sooner, that's by far the best way to go out there and build this business. I think that's by one of my best principles there, Vinny.
Excellent. I mean, if I may say that to the audience, that's what really helped me 14, 15 years back now, that I've been doing all these syndications, done 34 really successful syndications and turned the units over 22 times, closing the circle with the properties and all because of education. As a matter of fact, I just interviewed my mentor, David Lindahl. I'd love to mention his name again. And just a couple of weeks back. And the key thing was that I took the time to learn the business, right? Joshua, what you're saying, if I had not done that and not spent 30,000, I think I spent on me, but my team, we spent a lot more, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I hope that everybody looks at it. I know this whole social media has become with the free knowledge. Everybody wants free knowledge. And then they go from point to point to point to point, but not really a strong mentor. That's so important.
Yeah, Vinny, you bring up a good point, right? When I hear that you spent 30,000, I would contest that and say you invested, because let me ask you, what kind of ROI did that 30,000 create?
Oh my God.
Millions.
Zillions. I know. I mean, I am so happy I learned the business. Thank goodness. And you know what? The good part is that has paved my way. A lot of time we analyze till we paralyze ourselves, really. And then the fear factor is the biggest one. I don't want to take this step because I'll lose this, right? Or I don't know if this is the right opportunity for me in real estate, or if these numbers crunching what I did is correct. So having a coach, hold your hand and ask you the right questions is the best way you can really make some right decisions in life. And that's what helped, me. You bet. Yeah.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. Go ahead, Beau.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, and then also, you also have to pull the trigger, right? Like you can learn from anybody, but if you learn from a great mentor, and get that information, if you don't apply it, it's never going to take effect, right? So there's probably, in your coaching platforms, you see that all the time, right? There's people that they're just great students, but they'll never go out and apply it. And they gotta like release the fear factor, right? Like they're just so scared to pull the trigger. And Josh, what's kind of your takeaway on like those type of people? How do you get them to kind of get off the plate and move?
Yeah, so that's a good point. Information without implementation isn't going to manifest any results. And just like if I were to go to the gym and I would say, hey, I want to do 4 sets of 10 of bench press, and it's very easy on that last set to maybe only do 7 or 8 reps when I'm tired, to have a coach or someone to hold you accountable to implementing it. And a lot of times, if you look at the journey, so let's say, if you were to fast or reverse 5 years ago to where I'm at today, and I'm looking at where I'm at, and I'm like, holy crap, this is a big journey. That's very scary and very intimidating. But if I can say, look, step by step, I'm going to take these first few steps, and then they're going to get me where they're at. Those steps that seem a lot easier, and then all of a sudden you look back and you realize how far you've gone. So by breaking it down into actionable steps that you can foresee and know and be confident in executing, that's how you get down that trail of success and on that path.
You hit the nail on the head, Joshua. I mean, a lot of time when we are in a cozy situation, right, in the comfort zone, we make so many we think about a lot, we dream quite high, we set high goals. But when it comes to working, action, and being consistent, right, consistently moving towards your goal, incrementally, that's the word I just picked up from you. And that's so important because Rome was not built in a day. A lot of time people want to be successful overnight. That doesn't happen, but you got to make it each and every day count, the ROI and ROT, return on investment and return on time. Those two are the biggest factors I see in the success, they're needed in the successfulness, right?
Yes, there's a quote there that I really like that hammers it home. And it goes, inch by inch is a cinch. By the yard, it's hard. So when you look inch by inch, step by step, and break it down, it's much easier. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. So
true. So true. So tell us more about, I know you have been really managing and, bringing great quality investors to educate, right? So also you are increasing your portfolio. So take us through your, maybe some of the applications, some books that you have read, which really help our audience. And your mindset, I think it's very much in the mindset that you grow from point A to point B in a much faster way, or you could take a slower path.
Yeah, Vinny, I'm going to help paint that picture a little bit better for you. So another principle that really helped me get where I'm at today is always working harder on myself than my career. And where I got this from was the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And
Stephen Covey. Hold on.
Yes. And so in that book, I think it's habit number 7. It's always be sharpening the saw. And they tell the story of these 2 guys that have one of those big saws, and they're sitting there sawing away at this tree. And as the guy's walking up, he sees the saw is very rusty. And he comes up to them and he's like, hey guys, look, why don't you take some time to sharpen the saw? And they're sitting there saying, no time, too busy. And they're pushing this rusty saw that's barely doing anything. And the take home lesson there is if they would have sharpened that saw, that they would have taken much less effort to go ahead and cut through that tree. So you need to always be working harder on yourself than you are your job. And probably my favorite personal development author is Jim Rohn. And the first book I read by him was 12 Pillars. And that's a very instrumental book.
Jim Rohn is amazing. I love this slang. Actually, I've been listening to Jim Rohn for over 40 years, literally. It's been one of the best, of course, and other, Zig Ziglars, I'm sure. Of course, Stephen Covey, you said, Wayne Dyer, W.J. Schwartz, Napoleon Hill, Dale. I've got books all around here, I'm sure.
Who's older, John or Josh?
Got him by 2.5 years. So.
Oh, look at that.
Okay, good. I was always wondering that. I was wondering that, and now I know. All right. So that puts you. You're in like your early 30s and 34.
Yeah.
31. I'll be 32 this June. So
all right. Eligible bachelor right here, guys.
All right, cool, guys. What I want to do next is let's dive into kind of the next steps, right? So I get into a company where I'm learning, right? There's 2 ways to learn: pay to play, seek to serve. And at that point, I was seeking to serve, working for a very large real estate education company, and I was really learning and seeing how successful people operate, and that was. Almost in contrast, my parents did the best they could with what they had, but they very much so a middle-class mindset. So seeing how the wealthy view their money, the habits, the books they read, right, how they view their time was very important to me. And so from there, I got to a point where I was working really hard in my career and my job, but I couldn't trade any more time for money, meaning I was getting to a point where I was working 65 plus hours a week. And I was at a ceiling financially. So I had progressed up the ladder about as far as I could go. Upper management was really already set. And being in your mid to late 20s and kind of hitting a ceiling, you always want to be growing, right? So you start looking around for next steps. And in that company, I was in a sales capacity. And so I said, hey, look, let's go start our own company with one of my good buddies, actually Vinny, Dylan Marma. And Dylan, we were going to start a sales training company. And so what he did was he paid $7,500 for 1 hour one-on-one with Grant Cardone. Grant obviously is known for his sales training. At that point, he wasn't as known for his commercial real estate investing, but he definitely had a portfolio. And so this is 3 years ago now, just over. And at that point, Dylan flies out to go see Grant, and Grant says if he could do it all over again and be our age in his mid-20s, he wished he would have skipped building a sales training business and went straight into commercial real estate. He said if you would have done that, you'd be a billionaire instead of a millionaire. The only question is how many times over. So us in our 20s are sitting there wide-eyed, billionaire, right? That's a really big word. Yeah. And at that point, we start going all in and trying to build a commercial real estate investing business using our free time in San Diego to make things happen.
That's awesome. I never knew that part of the story. That's pretty amazing that he got $7,500 and said, okay, I'm going to go meet with Grant. And then that changed the trajectory of your guys' business and financial future right there.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. And at that point, we started learning everything we could, right? Podcasts, YouTubes, books. In fact, Vinny, your original mentor, Dave Lindahl, the first 2 multifamily books I read were Emerging Markets and Multifamily Millions.
Oh my gosh, emerging market guys, I would like everybody watching us, if you are looking into getting into multifamily, pick up that book from Amazon. I remember underlining and highlighting almost the whole book, literally. I'll pick it up and I'll say, oh my gosh, that makes sense. So again, hey, my book is really good too. Right there, on the Syndication Made Easy. I talk about that also in the book, emerging markets and all. But, Dave Lindahl's book is amazing.
So, John, So I'm just kind of curious now, because like if we look at, you didn't know Dylan prior to your previous company, right? You met there?
Correct.
Okay. So if you look at like Dylan's and Josh's of the world, right? Like they're very identical. Like we just had Dylan on a few weeks ago, and what is in the Joshes and Dylans of the world that they get ahead so fast, and it's like you guys are so almost identical in the way your mindsets work. I'm just curious. So that brings me to the part of your previous company. They did a hell of a job with their disc profiles and like sizing up guys like you to join their organization. So what are some tips? Like if I want to bring people on my sales team, to find people like you that are up and coming that also would have the interest of working with me, obviously I'd have to provide that value prop on that side. But I think that's the key to really grow a team, right? Like people are looking for the young Joshes and Dylans of the world, and Dylans and Joshes are seeking out those mentors. So what are the tricks? Like, how did they successfully find, like, how do they find people like you in a great manner like that?
Yeah, so I'm going to give 2 habits that people can use to become this type of person, and then 2 ways to find these people. So one, what I try to do is always be investing my time rather than spending my time. So doing things that are moving the needle forward in all aspects of life, right? Whether it's my health, my fitness, financially. And you need some hobbies to progress as well, right? All work and no play makes Josh a dull boy. And then the second thing is always being 1% better, right? So my competition is myself. It's no one else. So how can I be better than I was yesterday? As long as I'm focused on inch by inch getting better, I know that I'm on the right path. Now, as far as what we look for and how we try to identify these people, and this is a really important point, Beau, so I'm glad you brought it up, because a mishire costs you so much, right? To retrain someone and put that time and energy in. And what we look for are 2 things. One is going to be coachability. Someone who doesn't think they know it all and they're willing to learn, because that growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset is incredibly important. And then 2 is going to be having that hunger and a really strong why. So as Vinny and Beau, you know, with the amount of success you have, there are times where this path is not easy, right? It's not you just clock in, clock out. Your results are clearly based on your efforts. And you want someone who knows that and has a strong why, so they're not going to give up when the going gets tough.
You know, I think giving up, what you just said is so very true. A lot of us give up. I mean, you know, that's the difference between the 97% and the top 3%, or you could say 7% on the top earners and 93% or like that. That's a pretty large percentage who status quo, about 55%, I think, are status quo, you know, in their personality and where they are. They like comfort and everything. But the thing is, for us to really excel, we need to not give up. Have that mindset that no matter what is thrown at us, right, there is always a better solution and we can overcome anything that comes, you know, on our way.
Yes, I love that, guys. So here's what I think. Most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10. And so if you look at the entrepreneur journey, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And the curve, if you were to kind of have a curve of what success looks like, it's almost this hockey stick curve where it's slow, and then it goes up really fast. So most people are in this paradigm of I'm trading time for money, right? They clock 40 hours in and they expect 40 hours worth of pay, where they're too conditioned to that middle class mindset. And so if they'd have that long-term mindset and realize they're planting seeds, it takes time to water them and then grow the fruit, they'd go a lot further, a lot faster. But instant gratification is a really hard thing to wean yourself off of.
You can tell that Josh has read a lot of books. Just listening to him, I'm going, this guy is. So my question to you, Josh, is okay. Like I think there's a huge difference between people that read and people that apply what they read, right? Like, and I could tell you're actually applying. You're like on the weekends, you're reading and things like that, and I'm sure you're doing a lot of personal development. What besides reading, what else are you doing? Do you do like? Have you done like public speaking? Have you like what other activities do you do to kind of enhance your game essentially?
Yeah, so this is really good. Public speaking, I am in a Toastmasters, and so I'm always practicing mastering my craft. And in a really good analogy here to hammer this home, if you look at a football team, right, they spend all week preparing for a game. They may practice 4 days and then play for the 5th. So again, you're working harder on your craft, and that way you're training in practice, not on the battlefield. I really like that. Another one is having mentors, right? I practice what I preach, and I have mentors in my life. So a big coach of mine his name's Chris Robinson. He's a John Maxwell leadership coach. And the way I look at coaching is a 2-way approach. So if you guys ever, as a kid, you played those barrel monkeys, those little red toys, do you remember what I'm talking about? So I look at it like that, right? I have one hand reaching up, and I'm trying to learn from those above me, and I have one hand down, trying to bring up those that I can with me as well, right? I'm always seeking to give and add value. And so one thing that I got from Chris Robinson that was very valuable, Beau, and you bring up this point, is he had me read this book called Know Can Do. It's KNOW, Can Do. And it's about learning less more, right? So like you said, most people try to consume all this information. There's infinite information out there, but if you're not out there implementing this information, the results aren't going to be there. And so if I can take a point, really master that point, maybe read the book twice and get that habit in. And so it's ingrained and now it's a part of me. all of a sudden I'm that much better. Where if I am always moving on to the next book and the next thing and not really sticking with anything, the results probably won't follow or be as good.
So true.
So non-real estate related mentors, you had a coach, Chris Robinson. So it's like a Robert Maxwell?
John Maxwell leadership coach. John Maxwell.
Huge
Yeah,
author.
yeah.
By the way, 17 Habits, Principle. I've got a lot of his books, also the CDs, a lot of courses. And I also love his motivational minutes with Maxwell. Remember? John Maxwell. Yeah, he's got the top authority of leadership in USA. Actually, I had a pleasure to meet him in my previous company, and just a wonderful human being. And he was a pastor. Then he opened up, the whole thing in California, and now he has his leadership institute. Yeah.
Walk us through what your day looks like on a typical day, like how you plan your day, how you schedule your day, your activities, your savers, your habits, your rituals.
Oh man, so let's look at it from a theoretical approach first, and then we'll dive into what a typical day looks like. So another thing that I learned from the 7 habits of highly effective people is to time block, right? And the analogy they use is, I had this vase and I had rocks, pebbles, and sand. If I put the big rocks in, which first, and then the pebbles and then the sand, I could fit everything in. But if I just kind of threw them in at once, it may not all fit. Now, the take home to implement that in our life, your rocks are your most important things, right? So this is me taking time to read, right? To learn, to master my craft, to hit the gym, to work on my business and to invest in those around me. And then the other things like the pebbles, right? Let's say I get some downtime. I can call my dad and keep in touch with him. That's important. And then the sand is going to be something like, maybe I have a half hour before I go to bed, I read, or maybe I put a podcast on. And those are important. But a lot of times I'll do that for information and entertainment. So if you look at my day, my alarm goes off at 5:30 in the morning. By 5:45, I'm on my way to the gym. And so we do that. Consistency is very easy. And so it makes it just a part of what I do Monday through Friday. I hit the gym, and after that, I'm in the dry sauna for about 15 to 20 minutes. I truly believe there's a lot of benefits of that. And your body is almost the vesicle that you're using to go through this, and your health is wealth, right? So if I had, let's say I work really hard, burn myself out, and I amass a lot of money in it, but I'm sick, then I worked hard for nothing, right? So you want to be like Vinny and have a very long career. So I get myself right first. And that really allows me some time. It's an easy win I can get in the morning. From there, the next thing I do is we have a morning huddle, right? So we always want to share the wins that we had from the previous day. We want to talk about what we have on the calendar for today, that day to do. Doing this, it allows, when you say what you're going to do to someone else, you're more likely to achieve it, right? Because they can call me out if I didn't do it. And then we also talk about sucks and challenges, right? What are we running into so we can troubleshoot and brain solve on these problems? And then I split my day up between learning and really investing in my multifamily career. So I personally, right now, I'm trying to take down a 20 to 100 unit in Jacksonville, Florida. Also looking to expand my portfolio in the Southeast. But I live in St. Augustine, right? So I'm not far from Jacksonville. I'd also do Volusia County, which is just south of us. Then the other thing is, more like a COO of the Jake and Gino community. So that's a multifamily real estate investing community. And our goal here is to be the white glove service of multifamily education. So it's always seeing how we can do better, how we can be better, and really truly helping people learn how to build this business and help them with the implementation of it as well.
Beautiful. Wow. Very exciting. Very exciting. Josh, I really appreciate you coming on, buddy, and giving these cold nuggets. I think the biggest thing, I say is that, we got to have that desire to really use the time wisely, to have that, not taking no for an answer, incrementally, forming the right habits to succeed, and also be able to invest in yourself. I think I picked up so much what you talked about. We got to invest. I mean, we spend so much money on superfluous things, right? Clothing, this, that, of course, going out to eat, drinking. We could spend $100, maybe one night, right? But we will not pick up that book, which costs only $10, or get some, special something even a course or something, which will be not that expensive, but what effect it's going to make in our life is going to be humongous. Like Beau said, when I spent $30,000 many years back, that is, given huge returns. Oh, any last comments, buddy? Any last comments from you, John?
No, I'm just, I enjoy these interviews. I love asking these kind of questions because it's, I think I love to get in the mind of other people that are having great success, and then, take my key takeaways from that, right? Because if you talk to people that are having success leaves clues, right? Yeah. There's no question about that. So I always tell Vinny that I just like doing these live shows because it gets me pumped up for Fridays. And it makes you step up your game because you're talking to people that are like doing it, right? They're not sorry people. They're very positive. They have routines. They're consistent in life. And that to me inspires me. So I do this show out of selfishness, but hopefully a lot of you that are listening either now or in the future get a lot of value out of all of our great guests.
For sure. Hey, Josh, thank you, brother. Thank you so much. And I want to thank you publicly. I asked Josh, I said, Josh, I'm looking for somebody who will really be tremendous, who can, be the vice president of my educational division. And he says, Vinny, I've got somebody in my mind. I remember that text coming back. And I really appreciate you, Josh, for putting me in touch with John. And John was making great money with his company. And I really thankful to him. He took a leap of faith, and I know he'll be going places, with Monil, myself, and Shahid, and, where we are heading with the assisted living and construction and development and syndication world and writing books together and everything. That's going to be, thanks so much for giving us your time. Appreciate you, bud. How can people reach you, Josh?
Yeah. So my email is josh@jakeandgino.com, JakeandGino. My Instagram, feel free to add me there. So it's jroosen23, JROOSEN23. Send me a DM. And Vinny, Beau, listen, I really want to thank the both of you for letting me be a guest on your show. Always a pleasure to surround myself with high-level guys like yourself. And I truly hope this added some value to your listeners.
I'm pretty sure it did. I'm pretty sure. Hey, guys, if you like, what you saw today, great nuggets from our guest speakers, please comment and let us know. Just email us or text us at the screen. If you'd like some other great speakers to come on our show. We appreciate your time today with us and everybody watching us. So reach out to Beau or I or Josh if it can be of any help to you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Josh, buddy. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Investor Financing Podcast. For show notes and useful resources, please visit investorfinancingpodcast.com. For questions or comments, email info@investorfinancingpodcast.com. If you enjoy our show, please share it with your network. Until next time.